for putting forward this important motion, which we're happy to support. Obviously, many of those who are speaking are from the west of Ireland and the south, where coastal communities and people working in fishing are very severely impacted by rising energy costs, the cost of living crisis, the impact of Brexit and so on. But it maybe would surprise people on the East Coast to know, because it's not talked about as much, that there is also very many people whose livelihoods depend directly or indirectly on inshore fishing. Talking to the fishermen who work out of Dunleary this morning, they have done a survey recently and are estimating that directly and indirectly between the border on the East Coast and Kilmore Quay, there are about 800 people employed directly or indirectly from the fishing industry. And not to put too fine a point on it, they see themselves as really fighting for their survival. And they believe on a number of fronts the failure of the government to support them. They actually believe that their future is very, very much in jeopardy, and indeed that they might be completely wiped out as an industry. That's their view, for a number of reasons. The motion here and the appeal of the inshore fishermen is obviously on the immediate issues of the cost of living crisis, the hike in energy prices, the collapse of the shrimp market. And on those fronts, the fishermen I were talking to were just detailing just how severe the various impacts are. So marine diesel, which used to be about 30 cents a litre, then went up to about 65 cents per litre and is now at, they say, 110 cents per litre. The cost of a lobster pot, which was about €45, has now gone up to about €70. The cost of shrimp pots are up by about 50%. And in overall costs, they say that the cost of just going out to work, to fish in a day has gone up by about 75 to 100%. That it used to cost the fishermen about €100 to go out, just to go out to work a day, and that cost has now gone up to between 150 and €200 just to go out to work. So they are being hammered, absolutely hammered, and they need this aid package that they're requesting, and there should be no procrastination by the government. They also say, again, that this tie-up scheme, for them, they're not interested in it, and they think actually this is part of an agenda essentially to wipe them out. They don't want to be tied up, they want to fish. They don't want to be paid to tie up, they want to fish, and they want assistance in order to sustain their livelihoods. But the other pressure they're under, which is obviously a little bit off the topic of the motion, but they asked me to speak about, is the impact of the so-called relevant projects, industrial wind schemes for the Kish and Codling banks, which are their key fishing grounds. And again, not to put too fine a point on it, they're very much in favour of developing offshore wind and renewable energy. They understand their importance, but they say the developer-led model, which is leading to these so-called legacy projects being dictated by the developers to put on the Kish and the Codling banks, will wipe them out, will destroy them completely. They're being roughshod over by these companies, is what they're telling me. It's severely impacting on them, and if these industrial wind farms are put on those particular locations which should have been marine protected areas, which are very, very sensitive sandbanks, and which are key to their livelihoods, their industry, their jobs, their livelihoods will be wiped out. And that is contrary to all sorts of EU directives which require that there is not displacement as a result of the development of the much needed, and I want to stress the much needed industrial the wind farms that we need, the renewable energy that we need, but it is not supposed to displace existing livelihoods, and that is exactly what's happening because the developers are dictating. It's absolutely outrageous what is going on. The government are facilitating the sort of madness, the developer-led madness that led to the Celtic Tiger crash, and now we are seeing the same model of development being repeated in our marine area, and the fishermen are paying the price, but they also say the consequence of that will be disastrous for biodiversity, and indeed that those banks actually protect the east coast of Ireland. That's what they do. They protect the east coast, and that the damage to our coastal environment will be devastating if you have hundreds of wind turbines put on these sensitive banks that actually protect the east coast and provide the livelihood for our fishermen. So they say, yes, we need offshore wind, but not on areas that should be protected from a biodiversity point of view, from a marine biology point of view, and from the point of view of protecting the livelihoods of fishers and the people who work downstream in the industry and depend on those fishers. So I support the motion, and I would ask the Minister to respond positively to the request of inshore fishermen, but also to listen to what they are saying about the potential devastation that will be inflicted on fishers on the east coast, as well as all of the other areas that have been spoken about right across the country.